Welcome to the Death of the Author Show, podcast episode 3, your world this week in the YA universe and general geekery. You're here with Alexandra, a fictionado of all things nerdy and obscure, and Chelsea, writer of many unfinished things and general story connoisseur.
Hello!
This is the podcast for the week of October the 6th to the 17th. We are officially treading into Halloween territory. If you haven't got your Halloween costumes, you might want to start thinking about them, aka I should be doing that.
I know who I am, so I have 2 Halloween costumes this year because I'm going to 2 parties.
Oh,
I am going to one as Sherlock to a friend being Watson, and I'm going to another as Keely to a friend who's being Feely from The Hobbit. So I'm going full dwarf. It's going to be great.
I've always kind of wanted to be Cruella de Vil. I think she would be such a fun costume. But I have not procured anything that could possibly allow me to go out as her. So it's going to be an interesting scramble at the last minute like it always is.
That's always the best, though.
But that probably means we'll probably end up in horror books very, very shortly.
Oh man, I'm already researching. I have some horror books that I want to check out. I'm so excited. You don't understand. It's like October, the best description I've ever seen is like the moment, September 30th, it's like a picture of Tim Curry when you first see him in Rocky Horror with the cape and everything on.
Gosh.
And then October 1st, it's like the cape comes off and that's me. I am like so pumped for Halloween.
Oh, I love it. I really do. But anyways, so we are doing a bunch of things this month. Well, 2 things at least. We are going to see 3 authors in person. Woohoo! 2 events. So if you're in Toronto, we recommend you definitely check these out. Ransom Riggs will be in Toronto at the Indigo at Yonge and Eglinton, October 12th at 2 p.m.
I am so excited. I am so excited.
I am too. I mean, we've reviewed 2 of his books, and we're waiting for the 3rd one, and I have to say we've been enjoying ourselves.
I set my hand on fire.
Yes, you did. I mean, they're so gray, and they have like their own special voice to them that you really kind of get into after a while.
And isn't Tim Burton directing movies based off of them? Is that actually happening, or?
I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up.
Okay.
But I guess that'll be a topic for next week. But I could see him doing it and doing a good job.
And then where are we going after that, Chelsea?
We are going to see Veronica Ra and I don't know how to pronounce her name. Tahere Mafi at Chapters on the Queensway at 7 p.m. on the 14th. So, that one is going to be very difficult to get to. Because they're only, I think, letting 200 people get a book signed. You have to have a wristband. It's first come, first serve, and you have to buy one of their books. And I think you can only get 1 signed kind of thing. So they're looking to keep a time cap on it. So if you are not there probably at 5 o'clock, you're not going to get anything signed from them.
This is crazy, though, because this is my old store.
I know. This is home base for us.
Yeah.
So...
I used to work these things. Oh,
so jealous.
Funny, kind of. Okay, book story. When I was working, they were doing a signing for these 2 ladies, and they had a cookbook. They were selling some. They're famous. I don't know if they were Food Channel ladies, but whenever they do a signing, it would be crazy. They always hired a guy to dress up as a chicken and dance.
Okay.
And so there's this crazy signing thing happening, and I'm coming directly from OFSA. So I was shooting, actually. So this was an archery competition in high school. So I come running into the store. I told my managers this was happening, that I'd be bringing in all my stuff because I was coming right from. I run into the store, run right into the manager's room because they're like, we don't want you to leave your stuff, like your bow and your quiver and stuff out in the break room. And I run in to find no managers there, but the 2 cook lady authors and their manager.
Their dancing chicken?
No, their chicken wasn't there, but their manager was. And I walk in, I'm carrying a bow, okay? A strung bow and a quiver. And we look at each other. And I'm like, well, I think I'll leave this room and leave these here, and just kind of backed out.
Oh, no.
Probably one of the most random moments in my life. I might have made their days.
Yeah, I think they probably were like, we're never coming back.
I don't think we did have very many cookbook signings after that.
They learned their lesson. Okay, so quickly in Death of the Author review news, we've got 3 reviews kind of in the works. Salt and Storm, which we promised last podcast, but that will be coming out soon. We have a special movie review. So excited for that. I hope it turns out really, really well.
I've managed to keep the topic of this movie review secret, which is really, really difficult. I just want to see people's reaction when it shows up on their feed.
Oh my, because this has deserved a takedown and it needs to be looked at once again.
And it was very hard to look at.
Oh, it was painful. That was a hard week for me. And then there was The Raven Cycle, which we were doing a brief overview of before we get into Blue Lily, Lily Blue, which in the interim between podcast 1 and 2, or 2 and 3, we actually got an advanced copy. So we will be...
Thank you, NetGalley!
Yeah, and Scholastics for that. We will be reviewing that very shortly as well.
I'm so excited to read that. I just have to finish what I'm reading, Clariel by Garth Nix, and then I can... That's my reward.
So, yeah. We will be doing a Clariel review as well, eventually.
Alright, so being released this week, on October 7th, we have Snow Like Ashes by Sarah Rask. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Young Elites by Mary Lou, the author of the Legend series, and The Fall by Bethany Griffin. What can you tell me about these?
I don't know too much about Snow Like Ashes.
I like the title.
Yeah. Snow Like Ashes, as far as I was reading the other day, is kind of like one of the old-fashioned kind of fantasy stories where there's like a deposed king and she's kind of going on an adventure to find a magical object. It's one of those.
You can't see my face, but I need this like right now.
Yeah, well, October 7th.
All right.
The Young Elites, we will actually be reviewing sometime in the very, very near future, either the end of October or early November.
Okay, and then October 10th, we have Just 1 Year by Gail Forman, the author of If I Stay and Where She Went.
Yeah, those If I Stay was in theaters just this summer. I read the book, I really liked it, so I haven't seen the movie yet.
Yeah, If I Stay has been kicking around on my Kindle for like 3 years.
So.
I'm so bad.
But,
all right.
Anyways, I'm sure Just 1 Year will do absolutely great.
All right, and on October 14th, we have Stitching Snow by R.C. Lewis. What's with the snow titles?
I don't know.
Okay.
Winter time's coming.
Princess Snow is missing, and the king will stop at nothing to get his beloved daughter back. But that's assuming she wants to return at all. Meanwhile, Essie has grown used to being cold. Temperatures on the planet Thonda that did not go where I expected it was going are always sub-zero, and she fills her days with coding and repairs for the 7 loyal drones that run the local mines. When a mysterious young man named Dane crash-landed near her home, she soon realizes that Dane's arrival was far from accidental, and she's pulled into the heart of a war she's risked everything to avoid. With the galaxy's future and her own in jeopardy, Essie must choose who to trust in this fiery fight for survival. That sounded fantasy and then went hard sci-fi, and I'm really, really confused.
Yeah, that's kind of why I decided that this one needed to be highlighted, because... And then the cover looks completely nothing like anything you would expect, because it's like, think of a red apple with like white words kind of like making word art in it.
Oh, it's Snow White! Holy crap, it's Snow White! I get the title now!
Yeah.
I just had a moment. Okay, I will be definitely reading that now. Also, on October 14th, there's Sublime by Christina Lauren. Clariel, the book I've waited, like, I don't know, a frickin' decade for, by Garth Nix. Okay, so, decade. We talked about this last podcast, I believe, about Garth Nix and... Was it last podcast?
No, we didn't.
We talked about this. In a video or a podcast or something, we talked about Garth Nix and how we read his Keys to the Kingdom series when we were younger, and then we also read his Abhorsen trilogy. And soon after I finished the Abhorsen trilogy, I was online saying, oh, is there going to be any more books? And on his Wikipedia page, because reasons, there was he has been planning or working on releasing a 4th Abhorsen book following the woman who eventually becomes Clore of the Mask. And I got so excited. I'm like, yes, more background. I want to learn more about the Abhorsens. I want to learn more about this really weird woman wearing a mask. This is so exciting. 10 years later.
Yep.
Chelsea hands me an advanced reader copy of Clariel.
Yep. He has also announced that there is going to be another book following Clariel and Nicholas, but good luck telling you on when that will come out, because if we waited 10 years for Clariel, it's probably not going to be...
I expect this on my deathbed.
Yeah. Yeah. you will have read your children the entire series by the time that book comes out. So good luck for that.
I love Garth Nix. I love him. I love the Abhorsen books. I love basically everything this man's ever written. Like, he'll be like, oh, I've released a book, and I'll be like, okay.
I know. But it's such a long wait. It's very
10 years.
It's disheartening. That's what it is.
No, it's 11. I was 13. Holy crap. It was more than 10 years. It was 11 years.
That's so disheartening. So we will be doing a review of that very, very shortly as well. So we kind of came into the summer and we were talking to each other and we're like, yeah, this is such a great summer for YA adaptation releases. We've got The Maze Runner, we've got The Giver, we've got If I Stay. We got to go see them. We've got to blog about them. We've got to get on this because this is going to be such a great discussion, and we never actually ever saw any of them.
The only thing we saw was The Fault in Our Stars.
Yeah. And that was more like in the spring, so that doesn't even... Yeah. No, so I decided that we are going to look at some of the adaptations that we have loved and have disappointed us over the years.
Oh, great. This sounds painful.
Oh, it is. It's going to be. Now, there are a bunch of things that are going to be adapted. I don't know, like some of the first adaptations I can think of is something like The Princess Diaries. Like,
I liked the first one.
I did too, and the second one was well, I kind of liked the first one. I was like, this isn't quite the book, and I wasn't kind of at that spot where I could maybe accept that. I was kind of a little pissed off. But
I never read the book, so I'm not really...
But then I saw the second one, and I was pissed. It was just a waste of my time.
I guess this is where we play the game of how many of these have I actually seen.
Okay, what about the first Percy Jackson movie?
I hadn't read the Percy Jackson books at that point, so I just kind of went into that movie in a state of childlike wonder, because when I was a kid, I absolutely adored Greek mythology. And I guess I liked it. The only thing I really remember is them going into the underworld, into Hades, and Hades was just such an obvious Lucifer reference when that's so canonically wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching that because we actually went on Valentine's Day one year. There was a whole bunch of us, and I don't know why we decided that movie.
Because there wasn't going to be couples, that's why.
Okay, well, good choice. And it was just funny, but it wasn't like a good funny, like it was unintentionally funny.
Yeah.
I mean, the goat was eating stuff that he should not have been eating.
I mean, since then, I have read most of them. I think I need to just read the last one. And I have seen the second movie, which is a definite improvement from the first. Nathan Fillion is fantastic in it, by the way. But yeah, Percy Jackson. I'll give it a slight pass, like a scrape by. Okay, what do you got for me next?
Okay. Well, okay, here's the thing. There are like 3 types of adaptations. There are the ones that are absolutely horrible. Aragon.
City of Bones.
And then there are those adaptations that do not meet the book, and they're actually still pretty good, even though they're not perfect. And then there are those ones that are so dead on the book that you just can't help but love them. So let's look at the second category first. The books that were not exactly what the books kind of were outlining, but ended up being awesome anyways. One thing on the list we have is...
Holes! I love Holes. Holes by Louis Satcher. Yeah! I'm having fond memories here. Okay, when you're adapting something, and this is something that we took in a film adaptation class a long, long time ago, and though I basically hated that class, there was one thing that the prof said that just kind of stuck in my heart, and it's like, you're never going to be able to adapt the text. This was also, I was at a signing, David Cronenberg repeated this too. You're never going to be able to adapt the text perfectly, because text and film are two completely different mediums that have two completely different strengths. What you want to do is capture the soul of the novel and adapt that. And I thought, you know what? That is a good way to explain Holes, because it captures the soul of the novel.
Yeah. You've got, like, their fun little, like, raps or whatever, but you've also got the warden who's just, like, this complete, like, I don't know, just, like, damn, you do not want to mess with that woman. Got Mr. Sir, who's kind of bumbling, but he's a bit, like...
Fantastic.
Oh, God, yeah, and he's just kind of a dick, too. And then you've got kind of like the backstory, which was very sweet, which they brought in, I think, very well for what they had to work with. Yeah, it wasn't perfect, but...
pretty damn close to perfect.
Yeah. Actually, maybe that one probably falls in the first category, or the third category.
I don't think you're going to ever really find a perfect adaptation.
But as close to perfect as you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a better example of the second category where it doesn't exactly capture the soul of it, but it still does something wonderful, I would say would be Series of Unfortunate Events.
Yep. That kind of captured, like, the feel of the books.
It almost did something different, I would say. Like, just because they had Jim Carrey in there, you know what I mean?
Jim Carrey as Count Olaf. When I saw that, I was like, that's not going to work. And then it did.
It did, because he was not trying to be Count Olaf. He just was like, I'm going to be Jim Carrey being Count Olaf.
The pretending to be a dinosaur has stuck with me my entire life.
Me too. My family actually watched that way back when it came out, and they still love it, which is surprising.
You know, I still haven't read the last two books. I haven't been able to bring myself to do it, because...
You're talking to somebody who got to, like, 5, skipped 4, got to 5, and didn't keep reading.
Ouch.
Yeah. Then
Give me two more. Two more.
I don't know if I can think of 2 more like that. They're very few and far between.
Well, then give me 2 more.
What about The Princess Bride?
The Princess Bride is perfect.
I know.
Do not question the Princess Bride.
I'm not saying it's an awful movie. I'm saying, does it capture
the Princess
the
Bride
essence of the
captures the essence of the book beautifully, because have you read the actual book?
I think I have. Don't ask me to say I remember it a lot, though.
The book, I don't know how to describe it.
I think the book is exactly like the movie.
Yes, basically. Like,
I think he wrote it like it's a movie, and that's why it works so well
in
as
the book,
a movie.
He's writing, basically, the story of this book is that William Golding had this book that his grandfather used to read to him, and he wants to read it to his son, so he sends it to his son, but his son doesn't read it because there's a lot more than just the story, and he finds out that his grandfather was reading him like a condensed version and cutting out all the boring stuff. And so what he does is he takes that book, he cuts out all the boring stuff, gives you the story, and gives you footnotes about, oh, I cut this out. So it's kind of...
So he literally just, like, did an author's version of this one story that his grandfather read him.
No, it's actually, he wrote the story, though. The story around the story.
It's meta, is what you're saying.
It's extremely meta, and then they definitely took that meta-ness into the movie. And that's why there's the grandfather reading it to the kid.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And William Golding actually wrote the script of the movie.
Wow.
So, that is like...
Okay. I love the movie, but it was written as a movie almost. And I say that's why it's so successful.
All right.
Okay, so this one was kind of close to my heart, and I'm so sad that it never quite got off the ground, The Golden Compass.
Oh, Golden Compass.
Because think about that movie. It was
good.
Was it the best version of that book that you could possibly imagine? I wouldn't say so. I think it lacked a little bit, but as a start to a series, I think it was pretty damn solid.
I think because The Golden Compass definitely came out during the time where it's like, let's put out as many teen book adaptations as possible, because The Lord of the Rings had just done very, very well. I think there were 2 Narnia movies out at this point, and The Golden Compass has always been kind of like a big named trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
So it made sense to go for it, but there was a lot of controversy around it. And so a lot of the controversy kind of helped kill it, and it was heartbreaking, to say the least.
Because it was a damn good series.
Yeah.
It was a damn good series. I really wish they had continued. They had an awesome cast. They had Daniel Craig, Nicole Kidman, which were, like, perfectly cast for those roles.
Oh, definitely.
And
the guy playing the cowboy. Oh my goodness.
Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott, that was probably the best casting in the whole thing.
Oh god, yeah. Oh yeah.
And Ian McKellen as the voice of the bear.
So now let's get to possibly the bad adaptations, because
oh boy, okay.
Because there's a lot of those. How about Inkheart?
I never saw it.
You never saw it?
I never saw
that
it.
Disaster with Brendan Fraser.
I
where
never saw it.
They killed everything that you loved about those books, and they just kind of flattened everything. Oh.
Nope, never saw it.
That was the biggest disappointment because that was kind of like about the wonder and magic of books and characters and how you relate to books and what it would be like if you could meet those actual characters, but all of a sudden, they're just kind of on the screen and they're boring and it was slow and just the evil villain was not evil enough, and it tried to capture the soul and it just died. Absolutely died. Okay, what else do we have?
Give me a bad one. Give me a real good bad one.
A real good bad one. What did you think of The Lovely Bones?
It was pretty.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty to look at.
But what did it do to the soul of that book?
It didn't show the heartbreak well. I don't think it got across the portrayal of heaven. Like, it was beautiful to look at, but it didn't match with the book. I can tell you the one thing that they did well in that movie was the guy they cast as the killer. Oh my god, he gave me nightmares.
Yeah, he was very good.
So, it had that.
It did, but I felt like it took all, like, kind of the lessons and, like, the beautiful things that you kind of felt from that book, and they were just like, not important. And just destroyed it.
Let's show you pretty things.
Yeah.
Like a flower.
Yeah. Alright.
One more.
One more. There is our dreaded Aragon.
What the flying fuck? I'm serious. I am so serious. Like, okay. First book, meh. Rest of the trilogy series, whatever you want to call it, didn't like. Come at me, fangirls. Do it. But I think we can all agree that movie was a travesty.
No, actually, okay, so when I was looking at books that had been turned into adaptations today, Aragon was consistently on every list out there. Nobody can look at me in the eye and tell me that this book was turned into a movie successfully. No one. I challenge you. Because they were flattened into characters that were just like, here's the hero, this is a dragon, this is the mentor, this is the evil guy, this is the evil guy's minion. That's all the characters were.
And this is a lampshade.
Exactly.
It was...
It's just, it hurts. It hurts to watch this movie. It hurts your brain to think about this movie. They didn't even try, is all I can hope for. Because if they tried and that's what they put out, oh my god, I think you need a career change.
This is why we can't have nice things, basically.
And I mean, I feel like that was kind of a trend back when we were younger, when they're putting out books to movies and they're like, hey, we're adapting this, they kind of didn't really take their time with it. They were kind of like...
I've had this discussion with you many of times where it's like when you're adapting a series, especially a teen series, you don't want to take time because it's not how people are going to like it. It's, can we get this movie out in time for the trend to still be big? I mean, it's kind of changed because they're a little bit more picky with what they're picking to adapt. And then if you look at something like Harry Potter, where like look at the budgets for the first 2 movies in comparison of the budgets for like the last 4.
What would you call the difference in millions?
More money than I'll probably see.
Is he Richie Rich or is he like Stark Rich?
Because it's the whole, with Harry Potter you have the built-in fan base. You know they're going to keep coming back. With Aragon, it was more along the lines of this book is popular, but it's not as popular as Harry Potter. So let's rush a movie. We know the book's fan base will see the movie, we'll make X amount of money, and if it does well enough, then we'll make another one. Because, hey, those Harry Potter guys, they got to make more movies, so we'll probably... No, you kind of forget.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've almost gone the opposite way these days. Because, okay, so you look at something like Divergent, which I'm going to say, well done. It was a good movie. I enjoyed it. I think it captured the soul of the book. And there's nothing else to really say, except it was a good adaptation, and I really enjoyed it. But then you look at something like The Hunger Games, which I think they did well. But all of a sudden, they're splitting the last book into 2 movies. What is that?
More money.
I know. So it's like, not only have they've gone the complete opposite direction. They're like, hey, we don't need to throw this out. We need to draw this out as long as possible so that people have to keep coming back if they want the ending.
But at the same time, you can see that they're still throwing random movies out there, and the ones that they work, they'll drag it out as long as possible. But then you see things like City of Bones.
That was on a lot of lists of awful adaptations, I'll tell you.
Where I would say that City of Bones is like this kind of decade's Aragon, in the fact that, okay, this is popular, we're going to throw this movie out there because, you know, we have Hunger Games did well, they're going to do a Divergent movie.
Fault in Our Stars, whatever you got, they're out there.
So this is a very popular series that has, I think at that point, there were 5 books in that series, and there's prequel series, which they also have the rights for. And so they're going to be doing Clockwork books. But, oh God. Yeah, no. Not good. Not good. You still haven't seen it. I have war flashbacks when I think about it.
But you know what? I wonder if it's going to change.
Well, they are doing a second movie because they did sign a contract for 2.
But I mean, I wonder if they're going to listen to everybody going, what the hell was that? And they're actually going to.
I don't know. I mean, they kind of killed some of the big reveals for later on in the series in the first movie.
So I don't know. I mean, there are a whole bunch of adaptations that you kind of even forget they're an adaptation just because they've been around so long. Like, there's A Walk to Remember. There's movies that you remember from your childhood, like Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen with Lindsay Lohan, that you're like, oh yeah.
I remember that. I watched that.
Freaky Friday. And then, yeah, Stardust by Neil Gaiman. I remember the Thief Lord movie. That was fun.
They did a movie of that?
I think so. Or maybe I'm just having weird random flashbacks of the book.
I liked The Thief Lord.
I didn't.
I loved that book.
I didn't.
That book changed my life.
Really?
Yeah.
I hated the ending.
Cornelia Funk was doing a signing at my chapters, and everybody else was coming up with new copies of her most recent book, Ink Death. And I walked up with The Thief Lord.
You're like, yep.
And she gave me a look, and I'm like, what?
You wrote it, didn't you? On the Twitter, there is just been kind of funny random things going on that I've found out just through Twitter. So, Maureen Johnson, apparently somebody has snapped up John Green's old Twitter handle, and he got a new one. So the real John Green is not the real John Green anymore. Maureen Johnson tweeted, "The person who snapped up the real John Green, the former identity of John Green, is pretty funny. Pretty funny. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Now you know that."
Okay. Maggie Stiefvater says, If I had power in movie adaptations, I'd cast Judi Dench as Ronan and Emma Thompson as Gansey, because those two should be in every movie. I agree with you, Maggie Stiefvater. I totally agree with you. I want to see Judi Dench as Ronan.
I do too. I do too. I think that would be amazing. Now, do you know how that tweet came about?
No, please explain.
They are in talks to make
No!
Yes!
No!
Yes!
Yes! I'm so excited! Okay, moving on. What else you got for me on Twitter?
Okay, so there are going to be, again from Maureen Johnson, hey, there will be 250 ARCs of the Shadow Cabinet at the New York Comic Con, where I will be appearing on October 10th.
I told Chelsea that we steal a car and we drive down, and she won't do it.
I don't know, something about work and responsibilities and... Sounds like a lovely dream.
And finally, Joss Whedon, if they ever discover a surefire way to beat hangovers, we're basically fucked as a species. Nice.
I feel like I feel obligated to now include an obligatory non-related to anything tweet that just makes me laugh. And I'm sure that one's actually true.
And we had discussion this week on Twitter, which was basically me screaming at Chelsea over Twitter and her being cruel to me.
Yeah. It's my job.
And this basically will tie into our book discussion, but first we have to talk about YouTube.
Okay, so we read Susann Corkal's The Kingdom of Little Wounds. Not that recently, actually. It's been a while, but this book was so impactful that we still have PTSD. And if you read the book, you will understand why. Because we did a short review on it. Go watch that if you need an explanation on this book.
It's really good.
But, oh my god, all the syphilis.
So basically, our new favorite thing to do is to go onto YouTube, search Booktube for reviews of Kingdom of Little Wounds. Because I have never seen so many reviews on a book that just have... The reviewer has the same look in their eyes. Just like, what did I just read? It's awesome, but what did I just put myself through? Ah!
You come out with it, and you're a different person than when you went in. You feel a little gross, you feel kind of like you need a shower, and you kind of need to process what you just read by actually talking about it.
So, we looked at a few. Our favorite review was Cole from the Page Break.
And this was interesting because it was a guy's perspective on this book and the body horror that is in this book. And he seemed just about as shocked as we were. So
it was also different, the things that he focused on that we didn't focus on. Specifically, the jewels in the family jewels.
Well, I mean, that's body horror,
yes,
right?
it is body horror, but we focused on specific other elements of the body horror, like, we focused a lot on the messed up cures that they used, how they were using mercury to cure things, and in fact, that's making it about 1,000,000 times worse.
I guess we really don't have a lot to say about this other than it's interesting watching people go through the same thing that you have just gone through. And I think we're still working through some stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's what this is. So if you haven't checked out Kingdom of Little Wounds, go watch our informal review, read the book. And
please tell us how this book has changed your life.
Because if it hasn't, I wonder if you're even human.
Alright, now my favorite section of the podcast is What Have You Been Reading, Chelsea?
I have been reading Trial by Fire by Josephine Angelini, and I enjoyed it. I think I did. Was it as good as her other series? I'm not sure what it's called, but it involved the Greek gods, and just stuff was going down in modern day, and that was fun, but it was pretty damn good. It involved alternate universes.
I love alternate universes.
And the heroines and this world's kind of worst enemy is Lily's other person in this universe kind of thing. she is kind of the ruler of this world, and she's not doing very nice things. She's killing all the scientists.
But I like scientists.
Well, she's a witch.
Oh, okay. I get that. I get that.
And she's going around kind of doing like the reverse, like where those scientists were like, witches are evil, witches are the devil. She's going around doing the scientists are creating things like the atomic bomb, which is going to destroy people, whereas witch power is green. So, yeah.
Weirdly logical.
Yeah.
Alright, so in the last 2 weeks, other than my Dota reading, I read 2 books. I'm going to start out on the nice one before I break down with the second one. I read Alison Hewitt is Trapped, and I think this would be something you'd really, really like, because it is one of your favorite genres, zombie realism.
Zombie realism.
Chelsea coined the term zombie realism about this time last year. And in this book, Alison Hewitt is trapped in a bookstore where she worked when the zombie apocalypse happened.
Oh,
and
God.
The book starts with her and like 4 other people in the break room, and they're trapped. And they eventually want to decide if they're going to move upstairs into one of the apartments over top. And then eventually they go out and they're like, oh, there's going to be like this safe place in a stadium. Do we go there? And it's just this kind of like working through, and it's told from the perspective of her blogs. Because the government or someone has put up like a Wi-Fi net that so people can get in contact with things. So she's uploading her story online, and then there are actually people responding to it. And in my headcanon, because I have a headcanon, this happens in the same world as Mira Grant's Feed. Like, this is during the event, and then Feed is like post-event.
Yeah.
This book, it starts with like a note at the beginning being like, I have collected these from during the zombie apocalypse. For you were putting together a book about people who were heroes during the zombie apocalypse survival thing. Here I propose Alison Hewitt. This is her blog from the time. She's not a conventional hero. No. Please accept it. And then you read it, and it's really good. I really, really liked it. It was a random recommendation to me, actually.
Really? From who?
A horror blogger.
Okay.
So yeah, and that was my like getting started for my Halloween horror reads, because I'm so excited. It's time. I read the book that I have been waiting for a very long time. I read The Brothers Cabal by Jonathan L. Howard. I managed to get this book accidentally 4 days before it was released, and I am going through book shock because of this book. And Chelsea can vouch here that she received some pretty fantastic texts from me.
I did.
Over the course of me reading this book. Chelsea, I had a bit of a breakdown. Everything that has been sent to her is in caps.
Holy shit, Johannes just joined the carnival. I'm officially a psychic. I can't read this. He's ruining me again. Fuck. And then finally, I am going to find Jonathan L. Howard, and I am going to kill him. Those were the tweets.
Okay, so basically, this is a series of books that I accidentally stumbled upon a long time ago. And I devoured them crazily, and I have like been harassing my friends to read these books, and nobody really has.
I've read one.
She's read one. My favorite is the second one, The Detective. That's one I try to push on people the most. So this is the most recent book. Came out on the 30th, and it was everything that I wanted it to be and everything that I didn't. The tweets.
Okay. So after she kind of got to the end of this book, she's like, death of the author reviews. Don't mind me, I'm just sobbing in the corner. Hashtag the Brothers Cabal. Hashtag Johannes Cabal. Hashtag the weight is going to kill me. Because apparently there's going to be another book. And then I said, you know what would cure what ails you? Another Cabal book. And she's like, alright, that's just plain cool.
Jonathan L. Howard, he has this amazing ability. We've spoken about his writing style recently. How he is just hilarious. Like, he's very dry, he's very witty, and it's just so much fun. Reading these books is just so much fun because it's just great humor, but you know there's something coming. Because in every book up until this point, it's been all fun and games until he just, like, hits you with probably one of the most, like, intense, like, emotional bludgeoning thing to the chest. And so here I am with the fourth book, and it's been all fun and games and witty, and I'm, marking my favorite quotes, and I'm having a good time, but there's this voice in the back of my head that's like, it's coming. Your doom is coming. And then it didn't. And I was just like, what is he going to do to me? Oh my god, what is he going to do to me? And then after the climax, at the very end of the book, there's just like this nice little author's note being like, if you want it to be okay, stop reading here. And I had flashbacks to Lemony Snicket. Because in the series of unfortunate events, he would always do that. It's like, now if you want a happy story, you want to stop here because what happens next isn't a happy story. And he's like, there are 2 epilogues. One's a good epilogue, one's a bad epilogue. And so I look and I read the good epilogue, and I'm like, okay. I'm going to look at the bad epilogue. It's a page and a half. And I'm just like, what damage can this man do to me in a page and a half? I was catatonic for about 20 minutes. So if you haven't read the Johannes Cabal books, please read them. They're amazing. I was on Booktube today, and no one has done a review, and I'm thinking I'm going to have to, because no one has given these books credit. So come join me in the pain and the tears and the...
I think I'm going to put in the first book on my list of next things to read.
Do so. The first one's very good. There's a carnival.
So that has been our podcast for this week and next week. You can find us on SoundCloud at www.soundcloud.com/Death of the Author's Show with hyphens in between each word.
You can also find us at www.doftha.com. You can find us on YouTube.
Yep, Death of the Author. And you can also follow us on Twitter at DofTheA Reviews or at ZeresLoki.
If you want to hear me cry more about books, I'm tempted to tweet at Jonathan L. Howard. I just haven't figured out what I want to say. I'm coming for you!
Well, that may go wrong.
Probably. So I guess this is where we're going to end it.
But have a good week, guys, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
Bye!